I'll also pull this here so that I can see at least these 2 or 3 people here in the first flyer. Right. Okay. What do you see on the screen there? Anybody? You can raise your hand and answer. What do you see on the screen? You can directly speak, no problem. Only 10, 12 people are there. So even if you all speak together, no problem. No noise happens. What do you see on the screen there?
There is people interacting.
Okay, good, great, wonderful. People are interacting, and people, who are those people?
Students.
Students, wonderful, thank you very much. Great. Yeah, students are interacting, and I am standing here. I think you can see me here in this light blue shirt. The one who is standing here, it's me. What am I doing?
Monitoring.
Oh, good. Okay, wonderful. I think you can teach us. Right. Monitoring is the right word. Wonderful. Good. And anything else happening? Anyway, wonderful. Thank you very much. I would like others also to participate. Whatever you want, you can just say. Don't just sit quiet. That's all. Right. So the title of the presentation today is Communicative Language Teaching. Language in our case is English language. We are not talking about other languages today. We are talking about English because all of us are English teachers. So, of course, whatever I am going to say applies to all languages equally, but our focus is English. So, communicative language teaching, that is the title. Let's move on. Now, I have a question for you. When I say communicative language teaching, does it mean the language is communicative or the teaching is communicative? Anybody?
The language.
Sorry?
It's a language.
Yeah, somebody said language. Okay, good. And any other answer? Anybody else? Please feel free. I want lots of responses. We have plenty of time. If necessary, I'll hold you beyond 9:30. Right. Come on. Is the language communicative or is it teaching communicative? Which one are you going to talk about today? I got only one response.
Communicative.
Sorry?
Teaching communicative.
Teaching communicative. Okay, I've got two responses. One saying that language is communicative and one said that teaching is communicative. Both of you are right. But my question here today is, I'm not talking about the communicative part of the language. Language is anyway communicative. In fact, the very purpose of language is communication. Why do we use language? Language is for communication. What else does language do? Nothing else. Language has only one purpose, that is helping us communicate with people. So I'm not talking about communicative language. Language is essentially communication. I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about, can we make our teaching communicative? Can we make our classroom communicative? Can we bring some form of communication into the class other than teacher talking to the students? So this is what I'm going to focus on. Thank you for your responses. Okay, I'll begin with a very short video. You're going to watch this 2.5-minute video. You have to answer one question after you watch this video. This boy whom you are going to see has learned many languages. You have to answer one question. How has he learned those languages? Right? That's the only question you need to answer. So what's the question? Can anybody repeat the question?
How has he learned to?
That's all. How has he learned the language? So watch the video now.
Oh, sure. पहले नाम बोलो, कौन सा बोलेंगे? Spanish.
My name is Ravi. Questo paone muy bonito, barato, no es caro. 50 rupias. Questo muy bonito. Compra este paone no mucho es caro. €1, $1. Chinese ni hao ma, iko kong cho ma, wusho lupi. Japanese ko jakune ko no takai Korean gochur pini ko ichi dorune. Russian ni khachu ni nuzna iskolka. Adin dollar pisa dorpli Paulin Maulin kharosho. French bonjour sir shujulim di pons la second pis lainiro. And Germany wunderbar zwischen pound für 9 dankoshun tek ein dankoshun kumsi subin $1 €1. And RB Baba khati thaus ada Jen namuna ada thaus ada ₹50 ada kabir ada telat mia kamsin ada thaus ada tawi disterin. And Hirani, ₹5 ₹7 ni 37 ₹5 and Israel ata khamut ₹5 ada kubana. English, hello sir, you want walking Indian air condition? Indian price only ₹15. Like you take your daughter, mama give present.
How many pounds?
Only $1, £1.
£1, still £1.
£1 ₹80.
Wow, it's only gone up by what's the inflation?
Two piece £1.
2 piece £1.
Yes.
So this is a better deal than 3 years ago.
Yes. You bought it now?
Yes, I did. I bought it.
You have now in your country?
I have.
You know
yeah.
the why called the hanging garden?
No, tell me. You were going to tell me last time.
Okay.
You didn't finish, so
Yeah.
please continue.
The hanging garden actually is on the ground in the garden,
Yes.
inside no big tree.
Yes.
All the big tree huge one outside the garden, upper
Yes.
this garden. Because underneath this garden is big reservoir. Inside the garden underneath 30 million gallons of water inside the garden. 30 million gallons. And inside all ground in the big reservoir tank and inside all the small plants. You know hang people actually is underneath garden the water is hang on during the top because this called the hanging garden. In the British time 1921 very long time this garden all the open tank.
Okay, I am stopping the video. Perhaps you can go to YouTube and watch the whole of it. It's a very interesting video. And he's speaking about something that is somewhere around. He's acting as a guide in addition to selling those peacock feather fans. Now, the question that I asked you, how has he learned so many languages? Anybody? And everybody should answer. I think I don't want silent students in my class. Yeah.
Necessity, sir. Necessity.
Okay. Necessity, right? Yes, Pujvi?
So,
Environment, sir.
Many people
Yeah.
come from world around, and
Okay.
due to that, in order to explain, in order to communicate, he started learning one by one, language one by one.
Great, great. Because he has interacted with many people, he has learned. Somebody said environment. Somebody said necessity. Any more answers? I see.
For his business, he needs that. For his business, he needs that. So he has learned.
Good, very good. Because that's a need, necessity, business. Shivani, I haven't heard you. Shivani, are you there? Shivani, your microphone is muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
you-
Yes, sir. I messaged in the chat box. So in order to sell his product and make customer understand why it is useful for them, he started learning those languages.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Nirmala, would you like to answer this question? How has he learned these languages?
Yes, sir. He is observing, sir.
Uh-huh.
He is living with speaking multi-language people.
Great, great, great. So he is observing others, and that's how he has learned those languages. Anybody else would like to answer the question? I can't see all of you on the screen. I think you need to come forward on your own. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, we learn language by environment.
Wonderful.
We need environment of speaking around
Right.
us.
Right. Thank you so much. All of you have answered my question exactly as I wanted it to be. Now, before we move on to the next slide, let us analyze this. You told me that this boy has learned so many languages because he has an environment. He gets opportunity to speak to others. He has made an effort. People visiting that place, the tourists or whoever, have created an environment for him that helped him learn those languages. He has necessity, right? He has a need to learn that language, etc., etc., etc. Now, apply it to your own classroom. In your own classroom, Are you giving your students an opportunity to learn, or are you teaching? Or maybe when you were a student, were you taught the language, or were you given an opportunity to learn language? Anybody would like to answer that question? I see the chat box also occasionally, I think, flashing.
Very often we are,
Yeah.
very often we are busy with, we are mark oriented only.
Uh-huh.
So we teaching, we are teaching, and then the government is also asking for a 100% result. And
Right.
we
So you are
don't
worried
give,
about the result.
yeah, we
So
don't give opportunity for them to speak or thing. There's no time actually.
correct. So time is a problem. Results are a problem. Exams are a problem. And then that because of all these problems, what are we doing in our classes? We are teaching, right, the text, and we are not giving the students an opportunity or the necessary environment to learn the language.
Yes.
And that's exactly why tomorrow when students come out of colleges and universities, they pass the examinations with good results and go to interviews, and many of them cannot perform well, many of them cannot speak one right sentence in English. Their English is hopelessly, frustratingly bad, and they don't get jobs and come back and complain that the teachers have not taught them well or some such thing. Now, is there something that we can do in our classes while the students are still with us? They have not left the college, they are with us, maybe doing intermediate, degree, whatever, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. While they are with us, is there something that can be done so that students pick up language like this on their own, with their own effort, right? That is what we are going to discuss maybe the next 1 hour that we are going to be together here, right?
Oh, sure.
Let's move on. Now, I have some words appearing on the screen, right? Some 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 words, I think. So now in the chat box, write which one are you? You choose only one of them, or maybe you can choose 2, 3 also. Which one describes you best?
So the screen
Go
is
to
not
chat box
clear.
and write.
Screen is not clear.
Sorry?
Teacher and coach. Yeah, teacher, coach are hidden behind the chart one, sir.
Oh, you want me to close this? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, I'll close this also.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Okay, I thought you cannot see the chat box, but maybe I don't know why it's appearing. It should not. Right. Okay. Yeah, anybody, you can write, because I need to open the chat box. I think if I need to see all your answers, maybe I'll wait for half a minute. Write your answers and then I'll open the chat box and see your answers. I've hidden the video panel. I'm opening the chat box. I think somebody said facilitator. Somebody is a coach. I think Maruti is a coach. And Shivani is an educator and facilitator. And Divya is an guide and mentor. And Mr. Imtiaz, I feel it can be anyone, facilitator and a guide. And Nirmala says she's a facilitator. John Kennedy says he's a tutor. Right. Okay. Thank you. I'm stopping there. I'm closing the chat box. But maybe let's see. A teacher perhaps is whatever he wants, but in addition to that, or if he wants only one, the best role to play in the class, it should be that of a facilitator. What is this facilitator? I'll come in the next slide. But I'm telling you, maybe you are a teacher, you are a guide, you are a mentor, you are a coach, whatever you have chosen is fine. But please be a facilitator also. Your classroom happenings, everything that happens in the class every day, every moment, must be facilitated by the one who is in charge of that, the teacher. We call him a teacher in India, right? Maybe you are a lecturer. Perhaps tomorrow you are a coach, a tutor. If you are working in a small institute, you may call a tutor, whatever. But I am advising you to evolve, right? To grow up into a facilitator. The government job may not call you a facilitator. The school where you are working may not call you a facilitator. They may call you a teacher and give you a salary, right? Don't worry about that. I'm not talking about the designation. I am talking about the role that you need to play. And the role that you need to play is that of a facilitator. And what does that mean? When I say facilitator, I mean 4 things. Easy to remember, FAC. I am very, very fond of creating acronyms. Whenever I go, wherever I go, whenever I teach, I create some 2 or 3 acronyms and then give my students so that they remember them easily. The idea is that. So, what is a facilitator? So, there are 4 things a facilitator does in a class. F stands for fostering student-centric climate. Now, somebody talked about examinations. Somebody talked about a few other problems that you have. Okay, they are all bound to be there. But let English teaching not become textbook oriented, examination oriented, teacher centered, right? Classroom focused. Let it evolve into the student centered process of teaching learning. Everything that happens starting from the objective, education system usually begins with a description of the objectives. Why are we teaching a certain thing? So description of objectives to the assessment of the student, assessment of the outcomes, the whole process must be student-centered. To give you one simple example, suppose I say 2 things. You tell me which one is student-centric. One is at the end of the class, I will have finished chapter 2, right? That is one sentence, one statement. The second statement is at the end of the class, my students will be able to use the present simple tense. Which is student-centered?
Second one.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So our objectives must be like that. So when I go to the class with an objective, I want to achieve this today for my students, or better still, my students will be able to achieve this at the end of my class. So every day when you go to class, you ask yourself, what will my students have achieved at the end of my class? What will be the outcome? Not the output. Output is different. What will be the outcome? What is the objective? Objective, student-centered. Right? So if you hold an examination, how does the student benefit? If you teach something, how does the student benefit from that? Right? If you give a break, right? How does the student benefit from that? If you ask the students to speak to each other, how does the student benefit from that? Make everything student-centered, then automatically language learning becomes easier and much more rewarding. The second thing, every English teacher, every language teacher for that matter, should augment. Augment means increase. Deliberately I've used some tough words. 1, to create an acronym, and 2, perhaps to teach some vocabulary items also. Augment interactive environment. So my classroom must have a lot of interaction. This is a virtual class today. But despite, you might have already noticed what kind of effort I am making so that you participate in the class. This classroom has become a little interactive now because some of you are starting responding to me. Otherwise, if you just sit quiet, I teach for 1.5 hours and go, it is my English that improves, not your English. If you teach a class, teach, the word teach. If you teach a class English, it is your English that's improving. But if you help your students learn a language, learn English, it is their English that's improving. Which do you want?
Second one, sir.
Which one do you prefer?
Learn. We
Second
want our students to learn.
Yeah, we want students. We have already learned. Your English is good. So we've already learned English. In the process of teaching anyway, we are going to learn. But it's the student's language that needs to improve. And that's why I have to create in my class an interactive environment. As much virtual classes may not offer a lot of opportunity, but still make it as interactive as possible. Of course, there are very highly interactive tools virtually also, but we are not going to discuss them today. Okay, the third one, C. C stands for cultivate communication skills. I'll discuss them in the next slide. So cultivate their communication skills. Imagine a situation. Suppose you ask a question in your class. The student knows the answer, but he does not know how to give that answer in English. What happens? Have you understood the situation? You have asked a question. The student knows the answer, but he does not know how to give that answer. He does not have the right English language to answer that question.
Either you'll answer in a vernacular language.
Right. Okay, if you allow that. Right.
Either he will be silent or he will use his...
Correct. Either he'll be silent. Most likely he's going to be silent. He's not going to give answer because he's worried, oh, if I say this, I may make a mistake. My English is not appropriate. I don't know the right word for this. I don't know how to make a sentence with this. So I am not answering the question, not because I don't know the answer, but because I don't know the right English language to answer the question. There is some noise somewhere. In case there is noise at your place, you can mute yourself, except when you are speaking. Right. Okay, so cultivate communication skills. Why are we doing this? Because we want students to participate in the class and make the class highly communicative. If that has to happen, my students must know the right language. That is what I call communication. Communication skills is a little more. I'll come to that in the next slide. I think you've understood this point. Many times, suppose the student wants to ask a question. He has a doubt, but he does not know how to say that. Madam, will you please say that again? He does not know how to say that. So what will he do? He will not say that. He will not ask you. He will not repeat. He will not request. The last one, very important. More important than other things, we must, as teachers, we must constantly, lifelong, right? All our lives, we must be continuously updating ourselves, upgrading ourselves, upskilling ourselves, continuously evolving as teachers, continuously being students, and enhancing our knowledge and skills. So we must enrich ourselves. Don't think it's somebody else's responsibility. Vegas need not organize a program to enrich yourself. It's your job. You must come to Vegas. They should not wait for an advertisement. You must come. Sir, when is the next program? When is the next opportunity for me to improve? Right? So you look for opportunities and continuously enrich yourself. So these are 4 things that you need to do, right, to become a better communicative teacher or a facilitator. So in the previous slide, I showed you many words for, many synonyms for the word teacher, but I chose this word facilitator because I mean these 4 things when I use the word facilitator. Right? If you create the right environment in your class, if you make your classes student-centric, if you build their communication skills, right? And of course, if you motivate them to learn, and finally, if you continuously improve yourselves, enrich yourselves, right? You are facilitators. Let me move on. Any questions up to this point? Yeah, let me move on.
No, sir.
Right. You again see a picture here. You can just directly unmute yourself and speak to me. If your microphones are muted, you can speak to me. You can say, what do you see in this picture? There is a bottle there. What bottle is that?
Knowledge bot.
Knowledge bottle.
Knowledge.
Bottle of knowledge, right. What's happening? Anyone?
Being poured into.
It's
into
poured.
the
It's poured into the
head.
into the head of the student. So a teacher, a traditional teacher, what does the teacher do? As soon as the students come to the class, he opens the head of the students and pours knowledge into the heads of the students. So at the end of the class, what happens? The students are very highly knowledgeable. They can give you a wonderful definition. Suppose you ask them, what is a gerund? What is a noun? When do we use the present simple tense? 4 instances when we use, the student can, because you have taught him that. You have taught him the theory of using language. And he is very good at it. The student can reproduce that knowledge. Maybe once upon a time, perhaps that was okay. That was needed also, because the teacher was the only source of knowledge then. The teacher was very highly knowledgeable and the students did not have access to knowledge, and that was perhaps okay in the old system. But today it's not like that. You might have already observed. Today, for instance, in my class, I know some of you are more knowledgeable than me. Some of you perhaps are already using your Google search or maybe your mobile phones or whatever. The moment you saw that word augment, before I explain the meaning to you, perhaps you've already the information on your hand. Or maybe you already know some of these things. So the students are very highly knowledgeable now. If they are not knowledgeable also, they have access to knowledge. All that they need is a smartphone with an internet connection. Any information that they want, they can search and find. Why do we need teachers then? So if the teacher is a transferer of knowledge, I am telling you, this is a warning I am giving you. If a teacher is a mere transferer of knowledge, he has lost his job. Suppose tomorrow you become teachers and lecturers, and if you continue thinking that your job is to teach your students what's there in the textbook, read that line, explain, paraphrase, give meanings, give answers, etc., your job is gone very soon. Maybe it won't take long. So in such a class, what happens? There is this letter T. Does anybody know what does T stand for?
Transfer.
Sorry?
Teacher, sir.
Teacher. T stands for teacher. And what does this S stand for?
Students.
Student, plural. It's plural. SS. Students. So there is a teacher and there are students in the class. Knowledge is getting transferred from teacher to students. That is the old system. Now in the new system, what should happen? The teacher should be talking to the students. The teacher sometimes should speak to individual students, one student at a time. The student must be able to speak to the teacher. All the students can speak to the teacher. Inside the class, one student can speak to another student, and all students can speak to all students. If all these things are happening in your class, you are bound to be one of the greatest teachers. If your English language classroom must be really productive, if you want your students to be really as good as you are, you must ensure that your classroom has all these 6 different formats of conversation happening, communication happening. So communication is not just the first type, teacher to students. So I go to a class, I give a lecture, I give some assignment, and go away. At the end of the year, I take an examination, I pass them, fail them, whatever. If my students do not pass the examination, it is not they who are responsible. I am responsible. Usually what do teachers do? If a student gets 100 marks, no, they say, my institute has got 100 scores. One of my students scored 100 marks. And who is responsible for that? I am responsible. And somebody in the class failed. Who is responsible? That bloody fellow. He does not come to class. He does not learn. He is useless. So for that 0 marks, I am not responsible. For 100 marks, I am responsible. But I don't realize that I am responsible for both. Or I am not responsible for both. Either way. You are with me, I think.
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you so much. Right. Okay. I want such positive, instant, immediate responses, loud, clear responses. Good. Thank you. Let's move on. Now, this is this needs a lot of time, but I'll not take much time on this, but I'll quickly move on from here. Just telling you, because you're all English teachers, or many of you are going to be English teachers, right? I just would like to focus on this. Whenever I ask English scholars, English teachers, English academicians, what are the communication skills? Typically, the answer given is these four. We call them LSRW, LRSW, some order, whatever order. Right? Listening, speaking, reading, writing. These are the four skills that we generally talk about. But you might have already noticed that if I have shown only half the slide to you, there must be something here on the right side. Can anybody guess what's there on the right side before I show? Chat box? What do you think I'm going to show you on the right side of my slide? Are these the only four language skills that you know, or do you know any other skills as well? Do you know any other language skills?
Thinking, sir. Thinking.
Thinking is not a language skill. It's a skill, of course.
Yes, Q4R, something like that.
What are they?
Yes, Q4R.
No, I hear you, but what do they? What are they? SQ. Yes, stands for?
I couldn't.
If you think you can easily make out, suppose I know listening, I know reading, I know speaking, I know writing. I mean, am I competent as far as my communication skills are concerned, or do I need anything else? Or at least to do these four things, do I need anything else? Suppose I want to write. What do I need?
Thinking.
Vocabulary.
Ah, good. Thank you. Who is that? Who said vocabulary? What's your name?
Lisha.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Lisha.
Thank you very much.
Lisha.
Right. So let me show you the slide now. Right. In case you want to become a competent user of a language, these four things on the left side are not enough. You need a lot of support from the 6 other things on the right side. What are they? Your grammar must be good. Suppose you write, but your grammar is bad. Suppose you speak, but your grammar is bad. Right? Again, it's useless. So, grammar. Vocabulary, you said it rightly. Right? So, enough words. How to build vocabulary. Again, that's another area. Your pronunciation must be good. There is something called collocation. Collocation means words often go together, hand in hand. Words make friendships, right? People make friendships. Words also make friendships. So they always prosper. They enjoy being in the company of other words, right? So such combinations of words, right? Group space of words are called collocations. Maybe you can, in case you do not know, you can take a look at them in the dictionary and then you can find them. There is a whole dictionary of collocations, right? Then you must know how to use usage. For instance, a certain word can be used in a certain way in a sentence, in a certain context. The same word perhaps cannot be used with the same meaning in a different context. And finally, non-verbal communication. That's again a big area, a very, very big ocean. So all these together help us build our communication skills. Now, if I want to make my class communicative, one, my competency, my proficiency in these 10 skills must be extremely good. And two, I must facilitate my classroom in such a way that my students are equipped with these 10 skills. Tomorrow when they go, all these 10 skills are essential. The 4 on the left side are primary skills and the 6 on the right side are sub skills of language or communication. And again, this does not relate to English alone. Whatever language you want to master. Suppose you want to learn your mother tongue well, or you want to learn a new language, a fourth language, a fifth language, whatever. So these 10 skills are essential. Only when you have a reasonably good command over these 10 skills, you can become a proficient user of language, a proficient communicator. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm not going to too many details at this stage, but maybe this is one slide is a whole lesson. Perhaps we'll move from here. Now, I'm going to just help you change your classes slightly so that maybe your focus will change from teaching to student learning. I've chosen one or two today because we don't have a lot of time. I'll do one thing. So how do we use, suppose you want to teach your students listening skills. You can unmute yourself and tell me, how do you teach? Suppose you want to make your students competent listeners. How do you teach that? Anyone?
Providing
So
lab
make the
audio.
students listen to some.
Okay.
Comprehension.
Right, comprehension programs, yes.
No, make them listen to some audios of a native speaker. Definitely, if it's English, we can improve their language.
Great. Wonderful.
Listening only leads to understanding.
Excellent. Excellent. So all 3 or 4 of you have answered me. You suggest that give students exposure to some good samples of listening. So let the student listen to TV, let the student listen to a radio, let the student listen to something, or maybe a native speaker or a good English Indian speaker, and the student picks up. I would like to remind you here that
Not only that.
Yeah.
Not only this is just some steps, but there are others. Sorry, you continue.
Please continue. Good. I would like to hear you.
Listen. If it's a child or a student, we'll make them listen or watch cartoons or Animal Planet channels. Definitely through visualization, they can listen and understand the language.
Great. Again, of course, the point is the same. So what you suggest is that some good samples, whatever the student is interested in, or whatever in your opinion is good. So let the student listen to that. It can be a comic, it can be a serial, whatever. It can be a movie or a television news item, but let him listen to that and he learns it. So this is the idea. I'm just going one step beyond what you said. All that you said is right. We all learn languages like that. We all learn, proficiency like that. Now, I'm going one step forward. Suppose I listen to the English news channel, some Indian English news channel, a very good English channel. Will it automatically, underline the word automatically, will it automatically improve my listening skills? I'm not talking about English or anything else. I'm talking about listening skills. Will it automatically improve my listening skills? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it leads to.
Yes.
Yeah, research says that it does not.
Oh.
Just sitting in front of the television and hearing that channel, or just there is a person, there is a great teacher in front of you, or there is a native speaker in front of you, you just sit in front of him and he is speaking to you and you just pay your attention to that. It's not enough. There are a few other things in addition to what you are doing. If you do that, your listening becomes easier and more effective. What do? Before you go to the television set, before you switch on the channel, maybe ask yourself, what is it that you want to learn today? What is your expectation from that? Suppose you are directly in real life, you are listening to somebody. For instance, you are listening to me now. Constantly in your mind, ask yourself lots of questions every sentence. How am I using this word? How am I constructing this sentence? What am I trying to tell you? What are you grasping? Does it leave any questions in your mind? Unless this analysis is happening in your mind, your listening skills do not improve.
True.
Listening becomes hearing. You are there, you are paying attention, okay. Now, I have one exercise. Do you all have a notebook or a piece of paper on your hand? I'll give you 1 minute in case you do not have, you just move around. I think you're all at your own places. Just get maybe a small scribbling pad or a paper or whatever. Are you all ready?
Yeah.
Ready,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Wonderful. You have a pen with you?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Wonderful. That's good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a maybe 1 minute audio, right? And I have some stick figures here, right? I think you can draw easily pictures like this. It's not difficult. Even if they don't look good, you can just draw a line, some hands, legs, whatever, right? So what I am going to do is, so after I play the audio to you, I'm going to ask you these 4 questions. Question number 1, how many men were there? In the dialogue that you're going to listen, so how many men were there? Question number 2, how many were thin? You know thin? Not fat. How many were thin? And the third question, how many had dark hair? Dark hair, gray hair, white hair, golden hair, black hair. Hair can be different colors, dark hair. So how many had dark hair? Question number 4, how many had big ears? The questions will remain on the screen. You can see them. You need not write them down, but you need to write the answer. I think all of them relate to numbers. All the questions need numbers. So you need not do much. Just pay attention if necessary. You draw some stick figures like this. And then at the end, you must tell me the numbers. The 4 numbers which are going to be the answers. Are you all ready?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
Yes, sir.
I hear only one voice, 2 voices.
Ready, sir.
Ready, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ready,
Ready.
sir.
Yes,
Ready,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. Listen to it now.
There were 5 men. The first was tall and thin. He had a square face with blue eyes and curly fair hair. The second was short and fat with a roundish face and short, straight, dark hair. The third was of medium build. I didn't see his face, but he had longish dark hair. The fourth man was quite thin, medium height. He had a long, thin face with a big nose. His hair was dark and curly, and he had a mustache and a beard. The last man was short and plumpish, with very short blonde hair. I didn't see his face, but I remember his ears. They were very big.
Okay, if you have answers, you can speak to me. You need not chat. You can just speak to me. You can give your answers one after another.
Have you played it, sir?
Sir.
You could not hear it?
No, we
Sir,
couldn't
could
get
you repeat the audio?
No, was the
Yeah.
audio?
It's clear
Sorry?
for me actually. It's clear.
Yeah. Give me the answer, please. Maybe you need to. Please wait a minute. Others need to make some adjustments to their own audios, I think. Yeah, please tell me if you got the answer. Tell me.
The members were 5.
First one,
Okay.
5.
5. Okay.
One
How
of
many?
them was thin.
One was thin. Okay. And how many had dark hair?
One men.
One had dark hair. Okay. And how many had big ears?
3 dark hair.
3 had dark hair. Okay, right. And how many had big ears?
One, sir.
One.
One. Now, okay, leave the answers. I'll show you the answers. That's not a problem. Or if you want, I don't mind playing it again. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is not to play you today and then I'm teaching a technique. Now, you told me that if you listen to something or if something is played before you, if you are sitting in front of a television or if you are listening to a foreign native speaker, so you can improve your listening skills. I'm talking about listening skills now. In our classes, what do? I go to the class and I read out the text, right? Maybe I explain the text. I give whatever paraphrase I want. I think that my students are listening to me. Maybe they are paying attention to me, but they are not able to focus. Maybe there is some other problem. So in case I want you, today when I showed you this slide, I wanted you to listen to me very carefully. So what did I do?
Give the task first.
I gave you a task first. That's all, very simple. I gave a task. I said, okay, you're not just going to keep your ears open and hear me, but you have to answer some questions which are very simple. If necessary, bring a notebook. If necessary, draw some pictures. Take a pen. Pay attention. And I repeated the questions 2 times. And why did I do that? Because I wanted to ensure your 100% attention to what you are doing. I wanted you to listen to me, not hear me. So listening happens only when you have a task before you begin listening. Suppose you are listening to a song. You just want to enjoy the music of it and you are not interested in understanding the meaning of the song. So you won't listen to the lyric. You listen only to the music. But suppose one day you decide, oh, what is this line? I'm not able to get this text of this line. Oh, you listen very carefully. Oh, not this word, that word. Oh, this line. What does it mean? What does this song mean? So you are paying greater attention to that. Why? Because you have an objective. You have a task. What is the task? Maybe you are trying to write down the song. You are listening to the song and you are writing down the text of the song. Because you have that task, you listen to it carefully. That's why people say, elders say, always when you are listening to somebody, make it a habit to make notes. Make it a habit to analyze in your mind. Make it a habit to ask yourself questions like, oh, is this true? Is this reliable? Is this correct? Right? What would I have said in case I was in that position? How is he going to complete the story? What is he going to say next? Maybe lots of different kinds of analytical questions can happen in your mind if your listening has to be focused and attentive. Otherwise, what happens? You just start sitting there. Okay, don't worry too much about this. Maybe
there were 5 men.
So these are the correct answers, 5, 2, 3, 1. Don't worry. Even if the answer is wrong, that's not the problem today. I'm not checking your comprehension. I'm just telling you how to teach your students the skill of listening. So only one point keep in mind: whenever, if you become English teachers, whenever you go to a class and whenever you have this objective of improving your students' listening abilities, give them a task first and then begin the lesson. Simple. If you understand that, my purpose is met. Okay, so what do? You go to a class today, and today your objective is my students will be able to listen better at the end of the class. Suppose this is your objective, student-centered objective. And then that day you go to class. You just don't read. You say, okay, I'm going to read a paragraph to you. Right? Write down all the words that you find difficult to, maybe all the words that you do not know, all the nouns that you hear. Right? All the ing words. So there are going to be 5 ing words in forms of verbs which are there in this paragraph. Just write them down. So you are teaching them vocabulary and listening together. Or I am going to read this text for you. You have to give me this answer. Why does that man go there? Some question like that. So they'll pay more attention to you. Listening will be more productive. Okay. So this was the text that I read. That was my own voice. So I read it for you. And let me not spend much time. I think it's already 9 o'clock, 9:15. So let me quickly go through that slides. Right. So similarly, like teaching listening, teaching grammar also. Suppose you go to class and teach what is simple present tense, what is transformation, what is active voice, what is indirect speech. It's all, we have been taught like that for so many years, and still we don't learn much. Even if we learn, we only learn how to very mechanically transform one sentence from one form to another, but we don't understand anything. I know, I'm very sorry to say this, I know quite a lot of English teachers who do not know how the past perfect tense is used, how the present perfect tense is used. They don't know the difference between I have come, I came. They use it very, very, very indiscriminately. Quite a lot of English teachers. Why? Because they have not assimilated the rules. They know the rules. But suppose I ask them, when do you use the present perfect tense? They give you a beautiful description, a definition. Present perfect tense is used 1, 2, 3, 4. Immediately they say, oh, I have just come to the class. Instead of that, I say, I came to the class. So knowing something is different and using that is different. So if you teach grammar, for instance, maybe you can take some very interesting, humorous, or maybe a story or anecdote like that, and then you can give them I'm not going to do it, we don't have time, but maybe you can give a sentence like this to the class, you can ask them to correct, you can give them some clues. So the words underlined are the places where the mistakes are there. Suppose your students are bright, you can just give a context like this. If your students are not so bright, you can give clues like this. And then you can also explain to them what are the mistakes. And then this is enough. You can teach maybe 5, 6 different kinds of mistakes that students make. And you can spend a whole 2, 3 days on this. But suppose you teach that definition of what a noun is, it's never useful. Right? So I've just taken 2 examples of listening and grammar, and actually maybe some other time, maybe in case we get another opportunity, I also teach you how you can teach speaking, how you can teach vocabulary, how you can teach other skills. I talked about the 10 skills. So each one of those 10 skills needs to be taught at length and in detail. Okay, now I'll show you this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions. Maybe you can just take a screenshot of this, all of you, and later, not today, maybe you can give yourself some kind of marks. Do I speak and write good English? Do I, the teacher, right? How good is my spoken English? And who tells you? You tell yourself. You are conducting an examination. You are conducting some kind of a SWOT analysis for yourself. How do you do that? I think SWOT analysis is again another subject. So I know, because people might have praised me, sir, you speak good English. If 10 people told me, perhaps my English is okay. If one good friend told me, oh, you made that mistake that day, maybe I need to improve. Or maybe if I'm not happy myself. At the end of the class, I always know whether I pat myself or I come back very disappointed. I know my own heart tells me. Right? How good is my grammar? And also there are lots of tests now. These days, online tests are free. You can go to some of these sites and you can undergo a test, and the test gives you a ranking, a grading. So how good is your grammar? How adequate is your vocabulary? Do you use the right collocations? I just spoke to you about what collocations are. How fluent is my language? Is my pronunciation accurate? Do I use a variety of structures? These are all tests for you, right? Tests for the teacher. Let's move on. Body language also is a big topic. I think the teacher's body language also must be good, and it must have all these features. Again, you can take a screenshot and take a detailed look at it later. Quickly move on. Again, these trouble spots. Now coming to teaching communicatively in the class. Research tells us that something that is taught or something that is listened to, something that is just heard, after 24 hours, only 5% of it is retained in the minds of the students. But if the same thing the student learns by doing it himself, suppose I create a situation where the student has to teach another student, or the students have to learn from each other. The first photograph that I've shown, I asked you the question, what am I doing there? What are my students doing? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good. I lost internet connectivity. I've switched over to data. So sorry for that interruption. Right. Oh, so if the same thing happens in an interactive way, if students learn from students, if students are able to connect with each other, if the students are able to communicate with each other inside my class and outside my class, right? Automatically, what is retained by the student multiplies many times, and it can be as high as 90%. So what do? So the teacher has to gradually reduce the time that she spends in the class using English language herself. I told you at the beginning, the more you are speaking English in the class, your English is improving, not your students' English. But if you allow your students to use English, their English improves. So increase the student participation, increase or build an environment. The four features of facilitator, the four qualities of a good facilitator. I think you remember them. What was the acronym that I gave you?
Face.
FACE. Four letters. FACE. What is F?
Foster.
Wonderful. You remember them. That's good. Thank you so much. Thank you. You remember that. Right. So this is the difference between a communicative class and a non-communicative class. The left side is the non-communicative class, which we are very familiar with. Maybe in all cases, most of us have been taught like this. Our teachers did not know. Maybe many of our teachers perhaps use the classroom lecture method, and that was the traditional method. That's all they knew, and that's why they came and gave lectures, right? And all that you see on the left, no? So that was happening. But if you want to build a communicative class should be full of interaction, lots of activities, games, and all these kinds of formats. I showed one slide on this. Fluency is more important. Of course, from the examination point of view, accuracy, grammar, they are important. But from the language teacher's point of view, the students must be capable of using language in real life. And for that, fluency is important. If they make mistakes, don't immediately correct them. You can correct them a little later. Use as many authentic materials as possible. Maybe you can ask students to bring their own material. Maybe they go to a hotel and pick up a menu card and bring it to the class. You build a class around that, right? The students have seen some pamphlet about Corona, and then they bring it to the class. Build a class around that. Some real life authentic material. The textbook, of course, is there. What is there in the text also can be taught using extra materials, right? Grammar is for communication, not just the structural, methodical, theoretical way. And finally, this is my own coinage. Teachers should not be Mr. Know-all. In fact, everybody is Mr. Know-all today, because I am Know-all not because I know it, but because I have a smartphone. Everybody is a Know-all. But teachers must become, come, let's learn. I coined these two phrases for your sake. So, you treat yourself like this. When you go to class, so what should be the thing that's uppermost in your mind? Come, let's learn. Let's enjoy. Let's enjoy learning. Let's passionately get involved. Okay. So before I move from here, I wanted to show this video to you. I don't know how much time. It's already 9:25. What I'll do is I'll not show you this video, but instead I'll move to the last slide that I'll discuss for some time and leave there. So, okay, these are the 6 things that you must do in case you need to become a communicative language teacher, communicative English teacher. Right. Maybe you can begin speaking now using collaborative tools. What are collaborative tools? Does anybody know?
Groups. We have to form some.
Wonderful. Excellent. Excellent. I said that already. You know more than I know, many of you. Right. Does anybody know anything else other than groups? Maybe I'll switch on the
whatever
video panel here. Yeah. Yes.
whatever activity we are taking up, whether it is listening or reading or whatever, so we have to give instructions to them which should be appropriate, and we should actually make the students or learners be clear of what is to be done in the class.
Thank you, Imtiaz. Thank you so much. Yeah, so collaborative tools is, I mean, there are many, but I'll give you just two. One is organize some pair work in your class. In a physical classroom, it's possible. In virtual classes also, it's possible. And organize some group work. Give a task. Okay, 6 of you sit there, right? You all gather there, you form a circle there, you go there to the corner, and then you do this activity. Why do that activity? Activity is not for the sake of the activity. Activity is for the sake of the language. Suppose the activity is wrong, no problem at all. If they produce some language, if they speak to each other, if they make one good sentence, I think you are a great English teacher. Right? I mean, it's not the game that's important, it's the outcome that's important. Right? So organize as much pair work and group work in your class. Never just go stand there in one corner of the hall and then address all the students and 40 minutes, 50 minutes, finish the syllabus. And that's no use at all. That will never help your students. Right. The second one, the instructions that you give must be really very good. For instance, when I asked you to listen to something, how many instructions are you? Have you got a notebook or a piece of paper? Please go and bring one. Have you got a pen on your hand? Please listen to this. These are the 4 questions. I read out the questions. I explained the questions to you. Then, are you all ready? I asked. Then when you said you are ready, I played. I'd say, unless you give the instructions clearly, the main purpose is lost. The student perhaps if he does not get one instruction right, maybe the purpose is lost. So what should you do? In fact, whenever you give instructions, you must cross-check. You must ask a student, okay, students, have you got what I said? What will you do first? What will happen next? And then what am I going to do? What are you going to do? What is it that I'm expecting? Suppose you ask some questions and elicit. The 4th one is eliciting. Suppose you elicit, you get it back from the students, then you are absolutely sure what's going to happen. Otherwise, you give instructions, you think that communication has happened, but he understood a different way. At the end of the class, oh, sir, did you say that? I thought it was something else. Or the teacher says, bloody fellows, how many times I told you? I told you so very clearly and you have not got it. You're all mud-headed fellows. So teachers usually blame students, but actually the mistake is on the part of the teacher herself or himself. So please give very good. I know lots of great teachers practice, rehearse their instructions in the class. In fact, sometimes I do it. Tomorrow, if I go to class, oh, these are the 7 instructions I need to give. I write them down. Open your textbooks, go to page 59. Right? What is the most difficult word in that? Maybe if I have to say that tomorrow, I write them down, I practice. Yes. Maybe the sentences that I gave you are very easy, but sometimes giving instructions is not easy. It's very difficult. I tried it in many classes. When I go to colleges, when I deal with, very senior teachers, I ask them to give instructions for making upma, cooking rice, making a cup of tea. Right? They cannot give instructions. It becomes, a funny, comic situation actually. Many of them cannot give good instructions. Right? So giving instructions is an art. We must equip ourselves. The teachers must be extremely good at it because the whole process of learning depends on that. What students do in your class depends on what kind of instructions you give. Then teachers must ask lots of questions in the class. 90%, I think I'm not exaggerating. 90% teachers do not ask questions in the class, except some questions at the end of the class to check whether students have understood it or not. That's not questions, that's assessment. I'm not talking about that. The entire class must be full of questions. For instance, okay, You can ask very silly questions like, okay, have you understood? That's a bad question, useless question. Who will say no? I mean, that question does not. Suppose you say, okay, how many questions you are going to answer? If the student says 4, maybe my purpose is met. Okay, can somebody repeat what's the first question that I would like you to answer? So, what does the acronym FACE stand for? Sorry, if I ask questions like that in between, perhaps I evaluate, and also at the same time, learning is happening. Otherwise, it's only teaching that's happening. And the teachers must be very good with how to handle response. Somebody gives a good response. Suppose, Imtiaz, that's excellent, wonderful, very good. Right? I clap, I applaud. Right? I give some incentive sometimes in my class. Right? I take out a pen. I mean, the pen is only 7 rupees, 8 rupees, 10 rupees. But I take out the pen. Oh, this is my personal pen. I've been using it for a very long time. I'm actually very sentimental about it. But because you have given a very good answer, I am gifting it to you. Actually, this is the 100th pen that I bought. Right? But what I make my students feel so very happy with that little gift that I have given. Right? So how to respond? Also appreciating the good answers, handling bad answers, handling wrong answers. This is one more area to make your classes communicative. And eliciting is getting from students instead of just giving it yourself. And finally, think of some activities, some games so that your class becomes really very interactive and really very interesting. So I'll stop there. Maybe in case you can stay back for another 10 minutes or maybe 15 minutes, I don't mind, half an hour also, maybe you can ask me questions, we can interact with each other and anything. I mean, you can, anyone who is in a hurry to leave also may leave. Now your time.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a wonderful program, and even see, no words to express, to be frank. Though we are, I've been conducting this program for this is the 3rd workshop, but after listening to you and your session, I am not unable to get words for the closing and all.
Thank you, Vivek.
Yeah, hope every participant enjoyed, completely involved and engaged yourself, and you have started reflecting yourself, dear, by touching your heart and what is missing in your teaching and all. This is what I wanted to present you people in. So that is what this today's session, and it is going to be a new transformation, like a butterfly getting transformed. Even of this workshop, I hope this is with this session made your transformation easy from caterpillar to butterfly and all. Hope anyone to interact with the sir, and you are open. Please unmute your mic and you can ask the questions if anything else.
Really very enriching, sir. And only one thing that what was the video that you skipped? What does what you want to convey?
That is how a teacher transforms and empowers a class.